Michael Jackson was one of the greatest entertainers to ever live, but in the end, his body was subject to the same biological laws as anyone else. When he arrived on the autopsy table, the world became obsessed with his drug toxicity. Most people assume that a single powerful drug stopped his heart, but as a pathologist, I can tell you that sometimes the truth is much more silent than that. It isn't always one deadly dose. Sometimes it's a lethal bridge of several medications. Today, I take you through a case that mirrors the Michael Jackson tragedy almost perfectly. A man who looked like he was simply sleeping peacefully, but whose blood told a completely different story. I'll be showing you the invisible science of how these two cases collide and the warning signs that were missed until it was too late. Because in pathology, every story leaves a lesson. The deceased was a man in his 50s. He lived with epilepsy, asthma, anxiety, and chronic pain. His medicine cabinet was full, but nothing on his list would surprise a doctor. Millions of people take these combinations every day. But every additional medicine has the potential to interact. That information becomes very useful in this story. One evening, he developed a simple itch. He thought it was allergy and took antihistamines. Then he went out for dinner. But this dinner was not an ordinary dinner. It didn't turn out to be as he must have expected. Before leaving for dinner, he fell asleep. During the drive, he fell asleep. Again at the restaurant, he became so drowsy that he couldn't stay awake. His family thought he was just exhausted, and they took him back home. They checked on him regularly as he slept peacefully. Nobody realized that these were the final hours of his life. The next morning, he unfortunately was found unresponsive. Now, this is where the postmortem begins. It doesn't start with a scalpel. Oh no, it starts with questions. What must have killed him? Why was he so sleepy? Why did he not wake up? The autopsy reveals the answers. Like every autopsy begins with the external examination. But here, there were no obvious clues as to why he died. No evidence of trauma, no lumps and bumps, no evidence of medical intervention, just a peaceful body. The examination went eternally, and that revealed nothing significant. No evidence of a heart attack, no evidence of a stroke, no ruptured vessels, no blood clots in the lung. However, sometimes finding nothing is the biggest clue of all. When anatomy is silent, we turn to the science of histology and toxicology. Again, histology showed no significant abnormalities. Blood, urine, and eye fluid were analyzed. The results transformed the investigation. When the toxicology came back, in the blood there was morphine, codeine, gabapentin, promethazine, clofenamine, citalopram, trazodone, and cocaine. Many of these drugs are drugs people take for their illnesses every day. Individually, many of them were at their therapeutic levels, that is, the levels suggesting treatment dose. But sometimes toxicology isn't just about too much of one thing. Sometimes it's about the combined effects of many things. Like in the case of Michael Jackson, this was the killer. Now, morphine slows down breathing. Codeine converts to more morphine. Antihistamines and antidepressants, they further depress the central nervous system. So together, they created a respiratory depression loop. Those repeated episodes of falling asleep, they weren't signs of tiredness, they were the final warning. His brain was losing the ability to tell his body to breathe. The cocaine and the epilepsy only reduced the body's resilience until it simply gave up. The cause of death? Mixed drug toxicity. This isn't about blaming medicine. These drugs can save life. It's about the bridge. It's about the combined effect. If someone you love is taking sedative medications and keeps drifting off or finds it increasingly difficult to stay awake, it might just be a medical emergency. When Michael Jackson died, the world learned about drug toxicity through the death of a global icon. In my practice, I see the same principle in ordinary people every day. Different lives, different circumstances, different stories, but often the same tragic lesson. In both Michael Jackson's case and the case we've explored together, death wasn't simply the result of one substance. It was a consequence of a combination of drugs acting together, each one adding to the effects of the others until the body could no longer cope. That's one of the most important lessons in pathology. Sometimes it's not a single decision that proves fatal, but the cumulative effect of many. I believe every postmortem tells two stories. The first story is how a person died. That's the science, the pathology, the toxicology, the medical facts that explain what happened. But there's always a second story, how we should live. Today's story reminds us that what we put in our bodies matters. Prescription medicines, over-the-counter remedies, alcohol, and recreational drugs don't exist in isolation inside the body. They interact with each other, sometimes in ways that aren't obvious until it's too late. The purpose of an autopsy isn't simply to explain a death. It's to leave the living with knowledge that may help prevent another one. If this story has taught you something, or if you want to understand the science behind the silent killers that claims life every day, I'd love you to join us by subscribing to Beyond the Autopsy. Because every postmortem tells two stories. One explains how someone died, the other teaches us how we might live. Thank you for joining us in this episode of Beyond the Autopsy.